With more and more dating moving online, how do we separate real honest people from those misrepresenting themselves and the outright scammers? Our guest today is Kezia Noble. Kezia is a leading female dating and attraction expert for men and author of the best-selling book Noble Art of Seducing Women. I'm your host, Chris Parker, and this is the Easy Prey podcast. Kezia, thank you so much for coming on the Easy Prey podcast today.
My pleasure.
So can you tell our audience a little about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I basically teach guys how to increase their success rate with women. I'm a dating and attraction expert for men. I don't help women because for me, that would be the blind leading the blind. However, I do feel that in a roundabout way, I do help women as a result of helping guys. I've been doing this for over a decade. I run workshops across the world, not currently now because of travel restrictions, but we do still hold courses in London, and we have online training programs to help guys. I help guys with their approach anxiety, confidence issues, any limiting beliefs that they have when it comes to dating and meeting women. I help them their conversation skills to help them highlight their best self, their best authentic self. And a lot of people find that during conversation, they stumble, they run out of things to say, and they can't express themselves authentically as well. So we help with conversation skills, seduction techniques, body language, sexual escalation, and what we call follow-up games. So that means once you've got the telephone number, or if you want to transition into a relationship, myself and my team help guys with that also.
That's great. I know there's lots of us guys who need help. I'm fortunate that I have found an amazing wife, and I'm very, very happy about that.
One of the lucky ones.
Yes, for 16 years so far. It is a lot of fun.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So you talk about travel restrictions. We're obviously here in the, I would hesitate to say the middle of coronavirus because I would hate for it to go on for another 6 or 8 more months, but we're in the midst of coronavirus here. And I imagine that has significantly changed dating.
Yes, England's slightly different, so we don't really have a lockdown anymore. People are basically going out, meeting each other. Bars are open, nightclubs aren't, but bars are open and parks, and it's been great weather. But during the severe part of the lockdown, which was here between March and May, I believe that those dating apps really tightened their grip around people. But I think now I've definitely seen a sort of mass exodus from those dating apps because people need human interactions now, I think, more than ever.
Definitely. To me, I much prefer in-person communication with people. Sitting down across the table, being able to see them in person is so much more real and authentic than
Me too.
a camera or a phone or a text message.
Absolutely.
But for a lot of people, online dating really is a reality for them, for whether it's they think it's a shortcut, whether it's just what's common in their area. But what I've found with my other website is that I've run across a lot of people who've become victims of online dating scams, where it turns out that this person is totally made up and was just using them to get money.
Yeah, I have heard of this, yeah.
And so I wondered, from your expertise, can we walk through maybe like the different types of people that you might find on an online dating profile, how to separate the real people from the people that are misrepresenting themselves to the outright scammers?
Well, it depends who's targeting who. If it's a man being targeted or a woman being targeted, it's slightly different. It's much easier to target a man. You just have to have an incredibly beautiful picture. I'm not saying men are one-dimensional or anything like that, but I mean, if it is a guy and he's getting suddenly messages from a woman who is physically extremely beautiful, it should be treated with caution. Mm-hmm. I know beauty's in the eye of the beholder, but I think we can all kind of recognize when somebody is universally very good looking, and you know that they've got a look that's going to really appeal to most people. I think that, if it's too good to be true, then it's probably not true. So, I mean, I don't do online dating, not for that reason, but basically, I think everybody is lying to a certain extent on online dating. I think that it just gives the green light for us to just create an illusion of who we are. We put a few things online that represent who we really are, but I mean, our photographs they don't look like us anymore. The photographs, if you look at bios full of colorful, funny little sound bites, and you think, oh, I'm going to meet this really witty, interesting person who looks stunning. And then everyone just meets up, and the first thing they feel is a complete letdown. It's very hard to take it to a more positive note after that. But going back to what you're saying, I mean, that's the first red flag is, do I usually get such stunningly beautiful people messaging me?
Mm-hmm.
If you're that guy that gets that all the time, that's different. But if you don't, that's the first red flag. What kind of messages are they? They're just going to give you everything that you want. They're going to tell you everything that you want. They're never going to be able to meet you in person. Somehow it just doesn't happen. Just like they're giving you everything that you want to hear.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the common themes that I hear from people is that within the first one or two interactions, whether it's a man meeting a woman or a woman meeting a man, it's, I love you, you're amazing, I've been waiting my entire life for you. And to me, I think, like, how did you get that out of 6 text messages? Like, how could you possibly have built a relationship that deep and so intimate in a couple of emails?
What they're doing is something we teach called love bombing. It's called when you love bomb someone. And if someone, okay, I know it's changed, but people are online dating for a reason. You just have to look at some of their bios. And if someone's saying, oh, I'm just looking for quick hookups, that's probably not your target. If it's someone saying, look, I'm looking for a relationship, that's going to be the vulnerable person. Because I think when you're in that state of saying, I'm looking for a relationship, you are quite vulnerable, because you'll start to want to believe, you'll start to want to believe things that people tell you. Mm-hmm. And we all know, I think we've all been there at some point where we've been in that place going, I'm ready for a relationship. And then we meet people and you can feel you're quite vulnerable. You've got your head, you're placing, all your chips on this. And I think that they're going to, I would be careful about saying I'm looking for a meaningful relationship or something like that on online dating apps, because that's for them is, that person's vulnerable and that person probably hasn't been in a relationship for a bit, or if they have, they've just come out of a really bad relationship. And what do we all want to hear when we're feeling down? We want someone to tell us that we're amazing. And so what they're doing is in that case, these cases that you've given an example of, is they're love bombing the person and they're overwhelming them with just a beautiful feeling, mm-hmm. Not getting the likes. Maybe this person's not getting the likes on their Facebook pictures or anything. And then suddenly this person going, wow, you're incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's people are finding what they want to find in a relationship. If they're looking for a long-term relationship, they're going to see everything through that lens of, well, could this person be that long-term relationship? Yes.
I just think you have to be careful that if you are putting out that you are looking for a relationship, you're probably going to be a much, much higher target than someone saying, I'm looking for hookups, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Would you see the same sort of thing with maybe like age discrepancies as well? That if, let's say, you're the target and you're older, that those that are trying to scam you might be on the younger side? Or do you think it would actually, in some cases, flip, at least for women with an older man who maybe is more established?
I think that older, I think they're both actually looking for, it's a hard one. I think it depends how clever I'll tell you what, if I was a scammer, let's say I was a scam artist, I would presume that the person I'm scamming is like super brain. Mm-hmm. and I would use a picture that actually probably wasn't so beautiful. It was kind of pretty, nothing outrageously sexy. I would be someone in their sort of mid-30s. If it was an older man, I say, look, I like older guys. That's my thing. But I wouldn't be like looking like jailbait or something because it might be too obvious. This is why you've got to be very careful, because some of these scammers are really, really clever. I think most of them just say, let's just be visual here. And young, handsome men will talk to older women, and young, beautiful women, and pictures of young, beautiful women talking to older men.
Yeah.
But you can get someone that's very, very clever going, you know what, I don't think that they'll fall for that, so I'm going to be someone a little bit more their age. If you look, from what I've heard, the real professional scam artists are older men with actually women who are about middle-aged, because I think middle-aged women think, oh, an older man would never scam me, It might be, because you always hear in articles about, oh, she fell in love with a handsome man on her Turkish or Greek holiday. I know it sounds like a cliche. Funnily, it's like, everyone laughs about it and goes, oh yeah, one of those stories. So I think that when they meet an older guy, they think, well, he's a lovely older guy. He's such a gentleman. He would never treat me like this. So that's what I've heard. The really clever ones are the older guys, like in their 60s.
Yeah, I had interviewed someone, Jeffrey Hazlett, who he is a nice, distinguished-looking gentleman. He's got silver in his hair. He's a good-looking guy. He's married and has grandkids. And there's a ring of scammers that has been using his photo for years and scamming women out of money. And like he gets, once a week he gets a call from someone who, like, my mom, thinks you're in love with her. I know it's not you. I know it's a scam, but can you call her and tell her that it's not you?
Oh, wow. What's his name? I have to Google him.
Jeffrey Hazlett.
Jeffrey Hazlett. I'm doing that right now on this interview. Jeffrey Hazlett. I'm going to have a look at him. Hazlett. I found him. Oh, I see. Yes, that's what I mean. Yes, he looks successful, confident. Yeah. But he's not he doesn't look like James Bond or something.
Correct. It's not overdone. It's not over dramatized. He's a good looking older gentleman.
So I think then the best way to protect yourself is what are you looking for part is to maybe keep that to yourself. It's a very difficult one.
Yeah. It's you want to express what you're looking for, but you don't want that information used to take advantage of you.
So let's, think about things that you can do to prevent that from happening. What I would personally drop in, okay, if I ever did online dating, about the fourth or fifth message, if I had any sort of inkling that this could be a scam, or I just wanted to make sure anyhow, even if there was no signs, I would just say something like, you know what, I'm sorry, I've had a bit of a bad day. I've got so many bills right now coming out of my ears and I'm overdrawn. Maybe we'll talk tomorrow. Just like something casual like that. Like, oh, I've got so many bills and I can't pay them right now. So let me call you tomorrow when I've sort of, I'm a bit more chilled out. And I think that would be like a great way to filter out anyone that's looking for money.
Yeah, because they're like, okay, this person doesn't have it. I'm going to move on.
See their reaction after, see their reaction. Do they carry on talking to you? Probably not a scam artist. So that could be a way. I mean, the thing is, you're kind of thinking, oh, I don't want to say that to someone in case they're not. And then I've just said that. So you've got to find a way where it's kind of like cute, or you could maybe say something, I don't know. You could say, oh, I have been without my car for a couple of days because I haven't been paid this week yet and I have to pay the garage to get it back out. So I don't know, something like that, something just so flippant and throwaway comment, like, just, it's like just one of those things that you just talk about, like, oh, I've got to go walk the dog now, something like that.
Make it more of a frustration point as opposed to a life situation. Like, gosh, don't you just hate it when, the mechanic quotes you $400 and it turns out to be $800 and this is just going to blow my budget. Like that doesn't.
Exactly. Laugh about it. Like,
yeah.
Put the smiley emoji laughing thing of the tears, so the person says, oh, this person might be broke, but look how happy they are.
And you'd hope a real person would empathize and like, oh gosh, I've been there. And then the scammer's going to go, oh, well, gee, they're tight on their finances. Let me move on to someone else.
Exactly. I think that's a good prevention, way of preventing it, I should say.
And I know one of like, when it comes to the photos, I think it's that watch out for those really, really good photos.
I say that, yeah. But like I said, some of them can be very clever now. That's the thing.
Yeah. Well, there's one alternative with the photos is always, you can always grab a photo, save it to your desktop, and then do a Google search on the photo.
Yes. It's a special thing you've got on Google. It's called Google Flip or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something like that. I forget the name of it.
Yeah. You just upload the picture and it will show how many times it's come up on the internet.
And the funny thing is, like, I've done that. I'm not dating, but I do that when people request to connect with me on LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And, when it comes back like 16 different names with that photo, I'm like, okay, you're not a real person on LinkedIn. I don't want to give you access to my network.
Yeah.
But the same thing applies in online dating. If that comes back to a different name or it's a stock photograph, you've got a guarantee right there that it's not a real person. I've heard of celebrities, real legitimate celebrities who have used dating apps. And anyone that they try to connect with on the dating app just immediately assumes it's a joke or it's a scam.
Yeah. Sorry, that happened to Sharon Stone. I think she was removed from it.
Yes, I think that was the exact article I was reading. And so
it was removed. And they said, sorry, but you're using someone else's photograph. She said, no, I am the real Sharon Stone. And they were like, ha ha. And she had to prove to them. It's so funny.
So once in a while, it could really be that famous person. But the vast majority of times, it's not going to be the famous person.
Sadly not.
So we talked about like that overly expressive, effusive, oh, I love you. What are some of the contextual signs that you should be aware of in the conversations that happen?
Remember, just to, I teach men how to attract women. So this is something that I really want to help your listeners with. This is the first time I've ever answered these kind of questions. I think I'm doing pretty well so far.
I think you are.
Thank you. So forgive me if sometimes I pause because I just really want to think about the answer. Like I said, you've got to be careful here because there's a lot of lying going on online anyhow. People, they do exaggerate. Even people that don't want your money or anything, they just want to impress you. Mm-hmm. They can start exaggerating their lifestyle massively. To give you an idea, if you look at my so a lot of people I know, what they use is they use Instagram as an extension of their dating profile. Mm-hmm. So people their Instagram and they sort of take it from there. And I know people on Instagram who I know privately who haven't got a penny to their name. And if you looked at their Instagram, you'd think that they were a millionaire. And that's because whatever money they have, it goes spent on, one holiday to get that one shot. Or they go on a first class trip. It's just like such a waste of money. So
they rented the Maserati just for the photo shoot.
Yeah, and they kept the they kept the ticket on the rented car keys with it. So
yes,
that's a big mistake. Some actually online so-called gurus. I'm not going to mention any names. I won't get you or myself into trouble, but very, very well-known ones that teach you how to be a millionaire in 5 minutes have actually made that mistake where they said, this is my car, and they've left the tag on.
Oh, how embarrassing.
Yeah, but something that's interesting, even though there's been endless videos and blogs pointing out this one point, just going, look, here's evidence, people don't want to believe it. So that's what you've got to be careful with. So even if you sit there and think, intellectually, yes, I wouldn't be scammed by this person. If you're in a desperate situation, you'll believe it. Whether you're looking for love or you're looking to get rich because you've got bills to pay, you will believe it. You will try and convince yourself to ignore all those red flags. So you've got to be quite vigilant here. But yeah, looking at where the conversation is going, I think a lot of times these scammers, what they do is they talk about like how successful they are and how much money they have. So they put you in this false sense of, but it's money they can't get access to.
Yeah, yes.
It's money in property, it's asset money. they're cash poor. You know, there's cash flow's bad, but it's fine. They've got assets. And then maybe you look at their picture and go, oh my God, he's got that lovely speedboat. He's got that lovely car. He's got that lovely pool. And you kind of think, oh, fine, you know, this guy's really got his stuff together. So if it's kind of like, oh, yes, I've got this and I've got that, and it's not actually money, and then you start talking about cash flows, that's quite dangerous.
Yeah.
I think the big one is not meeting up with you. I think that's a really big one. Like, you know, you should say, right, you know, let's meet up. I'm free this day. And, oh, I can't do it. Well, you know, why are you talking to me then?
Yeah, and that's one that I hear in these conversations with people is that they say, "Oh, well, he's traveling out of the country," or "Oh gosh, something happened and his business needs him to fly out of town all of a sudden." There's always these semi-plausible excuses of why it falls through.
Mm. Well, in the age of travel restrictions, that's going to be pretty hard.
Yes.
Another thing that you can do is maybe get them to send a photograph with your name on it.
Yeah.
You know, they're holding up your name, send you a photograph.
It's the infamous, like, proof of life. Prove to me that you're really the person in the picture by doing something that I tell you to do or tell you to take a picture of that only you could do.
Yeah, that's another thing you can do. And if they say, well, why? Just say, look, it's just a requirement I have. And if you don't like it, jog on. I mean, I know it sounds harsh, but if I really liked someone and they asked me to do that, and I really thought, well, that there could be something here, I think I'd just do it. Because I think, okay, this person might have been conned at some point. I don't know, someone hurt them. And I think that's something that it's probably getting more and more common now. People are asking for evidence of life, as you said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I would look out for those. I think the big one is if someone didn't want to meet me. That would be my big one. That would really, really raise the alarm.
Yeah, to me, that's always the red flag. You're expressing love for me, but we've never met in person. Like, there's just a disconnect. At least for me personally, there's this disconnect of like, how could you really truly be in love with me when we've never really met?
And I also think you should just have one simple rule to live by, which is never lend anyone money that you've never met. Don't even I'm not even extending to this to don't lend someone money that you've only known for a week. I'm saying just if you have never met them, don't lend them a single penny. Don't give them any bank details, zero, nothing.
That is amazingly good advice. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the situation. It doesn't matter if their kid is going to the hospital. It's like, man, I feel so sorry for you, but you know, all my money's tied up for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Or I've just got no money. I think we've actually got quite a few good ones there. You can use the I'm broke, one. You can use the show me a photograph one. And what was the third one we just said? And the
that was like, oh, I'm sorry, I don't have any money. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you any money. I don't have any money until next week.
Yeah, just don't give them any money. That's it. It was so obvious, I just forgot.
I mean, it's funny. I remember talking to this woman who was scammed out of a substantial amount of money, and the scammers built this relationship that went on for months. It wasn't like 3 emails into it or 3 text messages into it. It was like, hey, I need some money. It was like 6 months into it that the person asked for money. And it was a massive amount of money that this woman, her entire life savings, mortgaged her house, gave the money, and the scammer disappeared. Yeah. And she came to me saying, I'm pretty sure it was a scam, but I just want to make sure the person's okay.
Oh, so she fell in love with him. That's different, isn't it?
And I was like, I just felt so bad for her that like this person who took the money could not care at all about her. Yet she is more concerned about, is this person okay, than how am I going to get food next week?
Oh God, yeah. It's so awful, isn't it, when someone with like a good heart is taken advantage of?
Yeah, and that's why I do this podcast. That's why I'm passionate about that,
Oh,
because I've
yes,
talked to so
okay.
many people who've been through these sort of things, and it's like, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
I think there's a certain amount of common sense that I'd like to say, well, anytime anyone asks you for money, just hang up the phone. But
Yeah, I
but
mean,
but I
look,
think when the emotions get involved, it gets so difficult.
yeah, I know. I have to say, I am somebody who is, I just have that kind of mind. I am very vigilant about things. I scan for danger. I'm one of those people. I'm just a scanner. I'm always looking. I even walk down a road and I'm like looking, is there any possible danger? So for me, it's just like common sense. And that's why I've got to be careful. When we're kind of like joking, like just don't lend them money. It's because maybe I am one of those people that's super vigilant about stuff, like, has a trust issue. But there's some people who, yeah, they're lonely, they're on their own, they want to love, they actually want to love,
Yeah.
even like I want to be loved, I want to love someone else. And you would just ignore all the red flags. So my message out there to the people is that, listen to our advice. Um, and it's not like, and I don't, I've got to be careful here because I don't want people to lose hope. I
Hmm.
don't, I'm jaded and go, oh, I'm bitter and like, I can't trust anyone now. There are awful people out there, but luckily there are a tiny minority, those awful people. And most people on dating apps are perfectly normal, perfectly lovely, looking for love. A lot of them also. So yeah, my other point was just don't get bitter about it. Be vigilant, but not bitter. I mean, look, I'm vigilant, but I'm not bitter about anything because I don't think I'd let myself get in that position in the first place. Prevention is better than the cure, as they say.
Yes, yes. Well, I wonder if some of it is because of your occupation. You're just always looking at how people behave, you
Yeah.
know, why are they doing, not in an accusatory way, but why are they doing this that way? What was it effective? Do
Yeah.
you think part of it is that you're just aware of how people interact?
Yeah, massively, because what I do is all about social dynamics, people's eye contact, people's body language. I mean, that's what I'm teaching on a micro level with some of my clients. So I can tell when someone's lying to me. I can tell when someone's exaggerating something to me. I can tell when someone's getting bored of me. Like even for a microsecond, if I'm losing their interest, I can tell. So I'm quite good with this. But again, that's one on one. When it comes to that's face to face. When it comes to online, it is a lot harder. I have a general rule of thumb, which if it's too good to be true, it probably is. But that again, it's going to sound quite bitter to people. But I consider myself quite a positive person. I'm not over positive, but I'm fairly positive. I would put myself out there. I mean, if I liked the idea of online dating, I would do it. The
Hmm.
only reason I don't like it is because I think it's a time waster. People think it's a shortcut to meeting people, but it's certainly not because everybody I know that's on those dating apps has said to me that they're exhausted from dating. And I'm like, hold on, dating's amazing. I mean, even when I'm in a relationship, I always say, you know what I miss? Dating. I just miss I'm like, love my boyfriend at the time. It's not that, but it's just that feeling of, when you get excited and you're getting ready for the date. And that's because I always had a face to face preview. So I knew if the person was a bit off, a bit strange, and weird facial expressions, or whatever it was. And I got a vibe, I got a general vibe. So I said, right, that's real potential there.
Hmm.
And the chances are it's going to go okay based on that. Whereas with online dating, because we're getting such an inaccurate representation of the person we're talking to, every single time someone goes on a date, it's like a kind of, oh.
And it's difficult because so much of social media is so curated. Yes, it may be a legitimate photo, but did it take them 16 photos to get that one? I remember taking had a vendor who sent me this really nice gift basket of beers from around the world. And my wife and I were like, "Hey, let's be nice and let's take a photo and post it on social media and thank them." We must have spent an hour trying to arrange these things, getting the camera angle right, the lighting just right. And I'm like,
No.
and people do this on social media for themselves. I'm like, this is exhausting.
I
But it's
know.
so curated.
I know. Listen, my Instagram, everyone says to me, because my YouTube videos have received like 75 million views. But when they look at my Instagram, they're like, oh, you've only got 3,500 followers. And I said, it's because I've chosen to not invest in my Instagram. And then like, oh, but it's going to cost you money. I'm like, yeah, but time is so valuable. And it's not like time when when you're working at something like a skill or something like that, that's different. Or even reading, because you're really getting something from that. Even some films, I don't mind putting time into that if it's going to inspire you. But for Instagram, you're sitting there literally for an hour sometimes doing a pose. And you're thinking, that for what? For likes? No. I was like, I made a decision. I update it now and again. It's like a picture every 2 or 3 weeks. And that's it. That's all you're getting, folks.
Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like I just don't want to. I don't want to invest the time and effort that it takes to live a curated life.
I know, it's amazing how many people seem to have the time to do that. That's what I don't get. When you look at some of their pictures, you think, God, that must have taken a full day. Weren't you meant to be at work?
Well, that is their job, isn't it?
Yeah, they're fine, sure. But I think we are living in this very strange non-reality reality.
Yeah.
So I mean, and we're still trying to navigate. We're still trying to navigate it. Social media is it's 10 years old, but it became more insidious about 5 years ago. I think if you look at social media 10 years ago, like we used to put up remember Facebook? We used to put up a roll, of our camera. Like we just put all these pictures up, no filter. I don't remember using filter.
No.
I just remember sometimes not showing the pictures that were particularly bad. And I would just like put this, and I remember we used to put like, here are my holiday snaps. You just upload them, about 30 snaps, and everyone would have a good laugh. And I was thinking that wasn't insidious. That was people just going, oh, look at me, and isn't this funny? And oh, I've missed you, and blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly it became like that one shot from your holiday. I was like, when did it become that? And so like insidious, as I said. And I think that's been only in the last 5-6 years. So we're still trying to navigate that, what's real, what's not real. And do I stack up against those fabulous, shiny looking people?
And that's, to me, that's the sucker punch of social media, is that we only see people at their best.
Yeah, I know, at their absolute best, right?
And it's not even their real best. It's an exaggerated best, and we don't see them, on the floor eating a tub of ice cream because they had a bad date. That doesn't happen.
No, I know. And I think there are some people on social media who are trying to combat that by they're trying to like put all sorts of kind of pictures up saying, oh, this is the real me. And then they have this picture. And you still look at it and think, well, you still look quite good, actually. But they're trying. And then they immediately go back to just being perfect. I think it's very toxic, very, very toxic. I can tell you now that my life is not fabulous and shiny. And if you looked at it, I don't think I'm one of those people that you'd say had a fabulous shiny life, but you'd say it's, it's pretty good. So I don't, and I think it's quite, so basically, when I'm divorced now, but when I got married, it was a real knockout wedding. And I had like a huge diamond ring. It was huge. And I didn't once put up a picture of that ring, not once, because I sat there and thought, look, I'll show my friends who know me. They were at the wedding. Here, look at my ring. And you have a right to show off an engagement ring. That's your right. But I was thinking, if I put on social media, how many people out there can't even afford to pay the rent that week? For me, that's offensive to do that. I think that's offensive. So I didn't do it. And I think if we just, thought, hold on, there are people out there. How is that going to make them feel?
Yeah. Stop trying to impress people.
Yeah. Just take that second to think about it before you post something.
Exactly.
We're digressing, aren't we?
Oh, but to me, that's the great part of these conversations, because these things are so related. I think, what happens on social media really is involved in dating life, because it sets such an unrealistic expectation. Even if you're not dating that person on social media, you're seeing somebody else's curated dating life where it's, oh, we went skydiving. Oh, we went to, dinner in Paris. You're seeing all this incredible stuff. And what you don't see is the fact that they were fighting the entire plane flight.
No, I know. And I even actually think, and I know this is really out there, what I'm going to say, really, really out there, but I think some people are even staying in unhappy marriages for social media purposes. That's what I think.
Oh, I'm perfectly comfortable saying that that's the reality. I don't think I'm stretching to say that. It's because people are trying to, it's their online life has some particular value to them and they're trying to maintain that image. And the image is more important than the reality to them.
I know, yeah. I do sense this, and it's really, really sad. I mean, it's keeping marriages together, but not in the correct way,
I mean, you hope the person at some point can work through whatever it is that's going on. That it's not just, well, this is just a sham marriage, and we're going to keep playing this game until one of us gets fed up or one of us dies. That's no way to live a life.
No, I know. It's quite frightening when you start going down that rabbit hole. It's really quite frightening. Just so much of it's now fake, and I there's like some crazy stuff. Like people make announcements on Instagram. It's like big announcements about things. Famous people like the royal family. You think, what on earth's going on? I think Instagram's the worst one out of them all. I think TikTok's really bad. I mean, it's called TikTok because it wastes time. It literally wastes time. TikTok. But I always said, will there be something worse than Instagram that comes along? And everyone said, no, it can't. Nothing can possibly be worse than Instagram. And guess what? TikTok came. It was like, oh my God, that's the worst thing that we could never imagine. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's hideous. And I went on holiday recently and I just saw, and it's mainly young women or teenage girls, and it's just endlessly them doing dance routines on the beach. And I was like, oh my God, it's like you're just doing that for the whole time and editing it and doing it again and again. And what's the payoff? Likes. It's not even money. You're not even getting paid for it. You're just getting likes, and likes are meaningless.
Likes from people that you don't know, that have no value, that aren't going to encourage you when you're having a bad day.
And likes don't pay the bills.
No. So it really sounds like we keep coming back to this point of real, in-person, authentic interaction with people is really, if the person's avoiding that, that's the big red flag.
If the person's avoiding.
Yeah, I mean, if we're meeting someone online and they're avoiding, trying to avoid coming to meet you, or whether it's excuses or finances or whatever the reason, like that's the red flag.
It's a big one, but just, if any of your listeners are thinking, oh, yes, but what if he genuinely couldn't meet up? What if he's not a scammer and he just couldn't meet up and he's too busy? I'm like, well, do you want that kind of relationship? Because if he's too busy to meet you now and he's just got a busy lifestyle, then you've got to be prepared that that's going to be your reality as somebody that's not going to be there much.
Yeah, and I also think, obviously, like, things do happen. Cars break down. Life happens. But when it's, oh, gosh, I can't be there tonight, but can we reschedule for next week? Okay, you're on thin ice, one more strike and you're out. But if the person shows up, then they're a real person. But it's when in 2 weeks from then, it's like, oh, well, no, this other thing just happened. It's like, okay, no.
Yeah, give them three strikes. I think that's generous.
Yeah, that's reasonable. And a real scammer is going to go through those real fast.
I also, yes, 100%. But also, it is a good way to filter out people. There are people on there who kind of just want to stay online. They want to have like online kind of relationships. Mm-hmm. So I would also say that's another kind of, you don't want to get involved with someone that just is never going to meet up, even if it's not for reasons like such as scamming you.
Yeah, it's hard to live a life with a person when they're going to stay in their home and never come out.
Exactly.
So I like that works at both ends of the spectrum. You want to meet the person in real life. Even if they're a real person and they don't want to meet you, that's another red flag.
Yeah, exactly. It's a good way to look at it.
So once a person has figured out, hey, I like this person, they seem to like me, let's go meet in real life, and they do meet in real life, how can you and your services help them?
Oh, how we can help them. So we teach people, as I said at the beginning, how to have really good conversations with somebody, how to have interesting conversations. So a lot of people will say to me, like the big issue is the dead ends in the conversation, and another one is a lot of people make the mistake of looking for commonalities, and I always say commonalities breed friendships, but connections breed attraction.
Hmm.
So rather than getting caught up like thinking, does she like the same sport as I do? Does she like going on holiday? Does she like this kind of food? Don't worry about that. That you're not going to fall in love with someone because you both love football or you both love dogs. It's a nice thing, but it's not the attraction trigger.
Hmm.
So I show people like how to connect. You can talk about something you both have nothing in common about, but you can find out what is the motive behind that, what's the feeling. Just get into the person's head a little bit more, and asking questions and giving responses. That's very important. That is going to encourage investment. So I'll just give one example here. A lot of the time, the person will say, "Oh, so where are you from?" And you'll say, I don't know, wherever. I'm from London, yeah." And they go, "Oh, I've never been to London. What's it like?" Most people will just give a really generic answer going, "Oh, it's a big city. It's quite busy. We've got nice shops. We've got nice parks." And it's like, it's generic.
Hmm.
Everyone says this kind of stuff. But if you just said like, and this is a line. So actually I'm going to give a line, but it's not a line that tells a lie. You just say it's the best place to live and it's the worst place to live. Or it can be the best and it can be the worst place to live. And you can say that about any city. So you're not lying.
Hmm.
Every city in the world has got a best thing about it and a worst thing that you hate. And just that simple line is enough for the person to say, "Tell me more." Because it's a kind of like conversational clickbait.
Hmm. It's almost, oh, so what do you not like about London then?
Exactly. And you don't put the other person in a coma.
Yes.
So I'm very big on sound bites and little turns of phrases that break the monotony and just break the autopilot mode and just get the other person invested a little bit more. And I've never said to a guy lie. In fact, I use something called unapologetic honesty. It's very powerful. So if you just, say something, let's say you're vulnerable about something. If you say, "Oh, and I'm really vulnerable," and you do it in that vulnerable way, it's kind of like overkill.
Hmm.
It's like, "Oh my God, this person wants pity and they want me to help them." But if you just say, "Look, I've just come out of a relationship and it broke my heart," for instance, something like that, which is quite vulnerable in itself, because you're saying in such an unapologetic, open way that this is who I am, people see the strength of that rather than the vulnerable thing that you're sharing with them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so it's kind of like, it really sucks that my car broke down, but I'm glad there's Uber. Or is that not? Or am I totally off base? I mean, that's not
that
vulnerable, I suppose,
you're
but
being no. That's a positive person.
okay.
Uh, that's kind of like when life gives you lemons, make lemonade or whatever. No, I didn't mean that. I meant how we talk and our body language and the way we say things is sometimes more important than what we're saying.
Okay, I get that. That I understand.
Yeah.
That makes
Okay. So
sense to me.
it's a non-verbal dialogue, you could say almost.
Yeah, that the way the person carries themselves,
Yeah.
the way they look away or look down or something like that.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. So we help people with the conversation tools. We also help people who get stuck in the friend zone. That can happen a lot. People got a really good day. They go, "Oh, we had a lovely time," and it's just like nothing escalated. I
Hmm.
didn't know when it was a good time to kiss her. I didn't know if maybe she wants to be kissed. So we teach them like indicators of interest, how to also show your intent, how to show that you're interested also in a way that's not going to make her go, "Oh my God." We show how to give compliments, and we also show, as I said before, how to follow up. So, for instance, you might, the date went okay. There wasn't any, it didn't really escalate anywhere. And how to, build from that. And again, this is where, what you said came in, turn lemons into lemonade, essentially. Well, that was a good segue.
I think that was a great segue, and I think that's a great place to end our conversation today. Kezia, thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Easy Prey podcast. Notes and a transcript of this episode with Kezia Noble can be found at easyprey.com/31.